Hey guys, how are you? It is Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. I got an awesome guest today. I'm really excited for today's conversation. This one is going to be geared towards business owners, but a really good story for everyone to hear. With me today is Michael J. Penney, a 8-year U.S. combat vet for the Marine Corps, served tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and uh, just an incredible guy, as you'll hear. He's got an amazing story and some great lessons for us to share. Michael is the founder and owner of a company called 5P, which stands for 5 Paragraph. He also is a book author. He was featured on a TED Talk. That is it's so empowering. You got to watch this. I watched it the other day and absolutely was blown away by this talk. He talks about the importance of adding value in stressful situations, which we all encounter. Check out his webpage. It's 5paragraph.com. He also has one, michaeljpenny.com. And you are going to be happy you met this guy. So, Michael, thank you for jumping on today and spending a few minutes with us.
Heck yeah! Thanks for the opportunity of having the opportunity of coming on. Thank
And
you.
look at you dressed up. Look how sharp you look.
Yeah, hey, this is one of the partners that I work with. This is one of the partners that I work with. I love it.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Hey,
nice
if you
meeting
don't
you.
mind, let's sort of start at the beginning.
Sure.
I know you're in North Carolina now. Where'd you grow up? What made you want to head towards a career in the military?
Right. So I was born and raised in Michigan, and I was raised in a town called Midland, Michigan, which, whatever, it was a standard city, I guess you could say, and middle class upbringing, and born and raised in a what you would call just a standard single family home block and all of that. And I knew earlier on in life that I at least wanted to go into the military. I didn't know really what I wanted to do. And then 9/11 happened when I was in high school, to date myself a little bit. And I said, well, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And I scored whatever on the ASVAB, and they said, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, infantry. And they were like, yeah, but you could like fix helicopters to do whatever. I was like, infantry. Yeah, I went into the infantry understanding the values of it, what I thought was the mission of it, and how the Corps operated a little bit. I was a little bit more astute of what I was getting myself into, but I had no idea, the way that a lot of us do when we go into it. And so anyhow, yeah, so I joined and I wanted to join the infantry and wound up going my first duties. I was a West Coast Marine. So I was trained over in MCRD San Diego, and my first ever duty station was 29 Palms, California.
Hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
Why? Now, I think I know the answer to this one, but why did you choose the Corps over the other branches?
oh, I've shared this story before. My recruiter at the time was so you have your direct recruiter and your RSS, kind of commander and stuff. And this guy had a horseshoe haircut and a Regs mustache and all of this other stuff, a big Eagle Globe and anchor on his forearm. And he was a recon guy. And I sat down in the office and said, the Army will offer me this, and the Navy, the Air Force, all of the other branches will offer me these things. What about the Marine Corps? And he goes, not an effing thing. You either want to be a Marine or you don't. And I was like, yeah, all right. That's, because what it is, for me, and you'll hear this out of a lot of other Marines, it's the whole concept of having the title for life and, boot camp's the hardest and all of this other stuff. If I were to cross over into any other branch, you don't have to redo boot camp. If you were to go into the Army and then cross over in the Marine Corps, you have to redo boot camp,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So, I mean, that actually came into play in my decision because I could go from the Marine Corps into, say, the Special Forces or the Rangers, and I respect all of them, given their mission and what they do. But that sincerely played a factor as
Yeah.
to whether or not, if you're going to go downrange and you're going to go into war, and you're going to go into the infantry and all of this other stuff, why not be with like the roughest, toughest, bunch of
The A
crazies?
team.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's
So,
great, man. So what, so sort of looking back now, what are some of the best parts that you got out of serve? Like, what were some of your favorite things? How did that shape you into the man you are today? What were some of those lessons you learned that, has have helped you so much in business?
I had the opportunity to actually take charge and go and do something. And that was something that I really wanted. A lot of people package it as challenge. No, I wanted to go and try my hand at this whole leadership thing. I
Mhm.
grown up I grown up playing hockey since the age of 6, which is a pretty brutal sport to begin with, and then I wrestled in high school, and it was the only one that I lettered in. So I was all
Yeah.
right at that type of stuff, but I needed that. You have team toughness, and then you have individual toughness that comes out of it, and that played a lot as far as the mental toughness and what I needed to do in the Marine Corps. So
Yeah.
anyhow, I wanted to go and unlock what I thought was the potential in leadership, and I knew that I had to, learn from the bottom. I started off as a slick sleeve private. I filled my sandbags along with everyone else,
Mhm.
when need be. So that those were the best, most rewarding experiences that came out of it. The best overall that came out of it was the instructor stuff,
Hmm.
being able to go and learn all of that knowledge from the instruction side.
Right.
You can take
And then share it with the guys behind you, right?
right,
Wow.
exactly. Exactly. So you're only in the cool guy club for so long, and then you have to hand that knowledge over to somebody else. And that's something. Look, I honestly say this to every Vietnam vet that's ever filled out an after action report. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Because when you filled out an after action report that said booby trap in it, we just switched those words around to IED,
Mm.
and they were using the same tactics, techniques, and procedures. There's only one carryover in between those two wars. I'll leave it up to you to figure out what that is. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for filling out those after action reports. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, that's great. You were telling me about that the other day, how helpful they were to you and your men.
Oh yeah.
Well, all right. So now you leave the Corps. How do you what's next for you? How do you decide what path you want to go down after in your post military career?
Okay, so while I was in Afghanistan on my third and final combat tour, I actually have it today. I invented this product, which is a mag insert for cleanliness and storage, and it's since no longer in production. There you go. That's where it belongs right now. And so the entire thing, when I brought it to market, I had originally patented it while I was in the Marines.
Get out
And
of here.
so I had brought it all the way to market. I had cold called all of these places. And I remember it was like 170, 175, somewhere in there, places that I was cold calling around Southern California when I was getting out. And this was right in that time frame in between my last tour and then getting out of the Corps.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was going to study business, and I knew that I was going to go into entrepreneurship, and I knew that it
Right.
was going to be something that might be technically engineering related and all of that. And so that was where the gears started turning a little bit. And then I went to school at night in order to kind of refresh some of those skills, not the rust off of some of the different parts of academic life that I hadn't been using, which honestly, when I got back into the classroom, I was like, what we're learning in the Marine Corps in our classrooms is way more high speed.
Then,
The need of being able to take care of what you need to take care of in the military and learn everything that you need to learn and go and provide your function in the military, 'cause it's way more taxing than going to college. And I think that's one of the other reasons why you hear all of these veterans, and myself included. I was a full-time employee while I was a full-time student, and
wow.
I actually needed that mental stimulation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was going to go crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. How did you then figure out like, all right, I gotta go start my own business and launch 5P?
so my first product, I brought it all the way to market, and that team around me had kind of dissolved. And I went to entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans. And while I was there, took the company and pitched it to a blind judge panel of judges and got most outstanding venture with a failed with a failed company. And that still to this day is just like one of the weirdest experiences.
Yeah.
And look, but the lesson to learn out of this so that you understand, investors invest in you, the
Yeah.
individual, more
Right.
than they invest in your idea or what you have. And so
Right.
you can put a whole lot of time, effort, and thought inside of your technical idea and still not wind up getting your investors because they invest in you,
Right.
especially if you're going to bring it to market. And so one of my mentors, he's a fellow Marine, he was like, "Hey man, you were on all of these combat patrols," which I was. I was on over 2,000 combat patrols, and we did all sorts of different stuff, just laundry run missions to going and doing raids and everything, right? The whole kit
Yeah.
and caboodle. But whenever you're in it, you write a 5 paragraph op order.
Mhm.
So he's like, "Why didn't you just write a 5 paragraph op order for what you were doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, boom, light bulb moment in a huge way." And so, but I didn't know what to do with it yet. And I was still living up in the New England area at the time. I was going to school at UMass Boston.
Yeah.
And then when I was done with school, came down here to North Carolina, which I was originally by Raleigh at the time. And and so I wound up creating 5 paragraph on my kitchen table and put all of the parts together. I wound up taking the op order and nuts and bolts great business plans that I learned at EBV, and I put those two things together. You don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Mhm.
So take two working wheels and I put those two working wheels together. The op order is great. It works really well. And then you have the nuts and bolts of great business plan. So all the business jargon that belongs is definitely inside of the 5 paragraph business plan. It's just as organized the way the 5 paragraph operations order process is.
Yeah. 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 That's great. And talk about, so what does 5P do? What's your mission? How does a company, what do they get if they come to work with you and hire you as their consultant?
Sure. So we're going to create an immediate action plan that identifies all your problems and needs right now. For a lot of people, that just takes a whole lot of weight off of their shoulders. So that's like the instant relief that we can provide a business owner. Even I say the majority of the time, when I'm out talking to audiences, I'm talking about, the subject of my TED talk and stuff like that. When we first engage, it's almost a therapy session,
Yeah.
right? Because you're getting this stuff out of your head, and you as a leader are experiencing isolation, anxiety, anger, depression, guilt. These are the things that I talk about in my TED talk because we have these bombs that go off in life. We have these explosions. Kind of like I was talking about Vietnam, that saying that there are booby traps that you're going to encounter. Well, there are booby traps out there. So you need to learn best practices. That's great. You need to put together a plan, right? And then inside of that plan, you have your strategies for each one of your functions. So how you fly a jet and how you drive a tank and how you do a boat and everything are all different, and yet we all use IP. So how do you get all of your problems out? We're going to identify your needs, and then we can create the infrastructure of your overall organization. And that
Yeah.
includes onboarding your leaders, each one of your subordinate leaders on down. So, but it
Yeah.
starts with a strategy session. So at
I love it.
5paragraph.com, you can sign up for a strategy session.
Yeah. And it's bringing that whole military, the elite branches, the special for of the military, that elite culture to the corporate world, which I know as a civilian myself, that just it's so appealing to me to have some
Oh,
of
yeah.
that embedded in the company, of what you're, and definitely check out Michael's TED Talk. I mean, it was awesome, and it's for
Thank
civilians,
you.
it's for veterans, and you just brought this fresh way of looking at a crisis. I never thought of it. This whole adding the value. I thought it was pretty special the way you brought that in. So
Thank you.
thank you for it. How did you come about that? Did they reach out to you? I mean, to get invited to a TED Talk, that's something.
It's funny. I was going through another program of learning at the time, and a fellow veteran had said, "Hey, you would be a good fit for this."
Hmm.
And TEDx Raleigh is where I did it at the church on Morgan Street for all of those other Raleigh folks. Um, yeah, it's a salon license, so each one is stood up by a leadership panel and wants to put it on, and so it's up to you to jump through the fiery hoops that they set
Right.
up for you in order to be able to get into it. So, yeah, so I did a whole bunch of takes. I did probably about 100 different takes
Oh my
for my
gosh.
2 minute video before I felt like it was solid and it was
Ready.
there and it was something that I actually wanted to present somebody. And then I presented that. It's only a 2-minute kind of icebreaker on what you want to talk about. And I said, stuff blows up in life, and the only way to get
Yeah.
through it is to add value. And so that this is the reason why I joined the Marine Corps in the long run that I didn't realize up front. It's because we share in the same core values. We're fellows, and we add value back into our fellowship.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Is
Yeah.
the fellowship and the camaraderie and esprit de corps. So we
Yeah.
didn't take all. What's that now?
No, I'm sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all of us didn't take the same ship over here, but we're kind of in the same boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we come from different walks of life. We got squeezed through into MCRD West or East, and then everybody speaks the Marine jargon. I mean, you're talking about a serious onboarding process. How do you get 18 to 25-year-olds to do anything? And so, and so, but that's the thing. That's how, is because you have value.
Yeah.
And then you have your mission, the vision of the overall Marine Corps. And I was the
Yes.
kid who saw, like, you're climbing the cliff and then you're going to fight the guy with the fiery sword and stuff. That was the commercial that was on,
Yeah.
right?
And then the one, the only, yeah, no,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then
See,
and then when you get in
yeah.
there and you start learning these different things, I didn't know what a 5 paragraph was
Yeah.
until I was actually in the fleet. And
Wow.
then that's when I learned. But you learn it very young in the Marine Corps. You learn where you fit
Yeah.
inside of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
organization, and then you can grab a hold of that mission. And if you mess with my mission, you're messing with my turf, that kind of thing, which is what you want, right? That's what you
Yeah,
want out of your workforce. That's what you
absolutely.
want out of people.
Absolutely. We have a few Marines on our team, and everything you're saying is them to a T. I mean, these guys are tough as nails and great team members. So, um, talk about, what do you feel is some of the biggest problems or challenges or hurdles that businesses today encounter? What are some of the things, what are they just getting wrong that can easily be fixed? Not
Sure.
easily, but can be fixed.
Yeah, the number one thing is treating people in HR, treating people as a KPI, where it's only a key performance indicator. All right. And I use the analogy of trying to coach your kid's soccer team. If you only coach them based upon how many goals they score, you're just not a very good coach.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the biggest problem facing a lot of organizations right now. There are people on the ground that know way better than you do. And even though we wear a suit and tie and look really good, the folks that are cleaning the bathrooms know what's happening inside of our organization way better than we do.
Right.
And
They're
so we
taking
need to
care of
get
those
that
people.
feedback loop. We need
Yeah.
to hear them out. And that's
Yeah.
not a key performance indicator.
Right.
Like, how many bathrooms you clean today? Cool. Check the box. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no there's no interaction of people there. Hey,
Right.
what'd you see today? Was there anything broken?
Yeah.
Was there anything
Right.
I got to fix? Is
What
there anything
ideas
that
you
we
have
can do
to
better?
help fix them? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making people feel part of the team.
Well, and that's it's something that you're going to hear all throughout the military. People who understand the military decision making process. If you fix the culture, if you fix the leaders, problems fix themselves. And
Right.
so, more often than not, we have a culture that doesn't allow for accountability. It's
Hmm.
like fudge the numbers in order to get through to the next quarter.
Right.
Whoa. And
Yeah.
so we talk openly about the concept of intrapreneurship, right? And everybody who's inside of, let's say, in the Marine Corps as a sergeant, as a patrol leader, I was acting intrapreneurially. I needed to go and do things under my own auspices. Like, I was out there being the decision maker and I needed to figure out what had to happen. But I had the ability to call upon the guidance, resources, knowledge, backing from higher. I had the whole US Marine Corps to call on. Thank God.
Hmm.
Right? Because as infantry, we're only about 10% of the Marine Corps. That's a
Right.
big secret. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody that. The rest of the Marine Corps is the supporting element that helps. So,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful, because otherwise I wouldn't have hot chow, I wouldn't have
Right.
ammunition, I wouldn't have all of the other stuff that comes along
Right.
with
Right. You guys are at the tip, though. What talk now on the with 5P? Do you mind sharing an example or two, or some of your favorites, or say to the transition from taking a company to one level and bringing them through your process, and what they look like on the other side?
Yeah, there's a couple that we share as far as in the testimonials. I think my favorite, and I shared it with you before, my most impressive is working with my buddy Nate. And I say that now because we didn't know each other when we first met on an airplane back in 2017, and he was my first ever client. And I was going out there for a speaking engagement, and he tells this story way better than I do because I was asleep on the flight. My mouth was hanging open and all sorts of stuff. And he's like, "Who is this big guy sitting next to me? Like, what is going on?" And so then we interact, and I noticed that he was reading Simon Sinek's "Leaders Eat Last,"
Yeah, that's a good book.
and it's a great book. And I
Yeah.
nudged him, and I was like, he stole all that stuff from the Marines, right? And so which I can't wait to share this face to face with Simon someday. But
He's a
he
big
was
veteran. He loves the. I believe that because he always tells examples of military examples and stuff. Yeah,
right, right. Well, exactly.
yeah,
Well, because he questions when people say, "Hey, I want to do something with purpose."
mm,
Everything that you do, you have the control of doing it purposefully.
right,
So do everything from tying your shoes to brushing your teeth, tying your tie, do everything purposefully, and you're doing it with purpose,
yeah,
right? And so live a purpose-driven life. Love that. Leaders Eat Last talks about how in the Corps, privates would go first, PFCs would go second, and so it would go from the junior grade all the way on up. Why is that? Because they're the ones who are doing the work in all actuality. And is everybody working? Of course, everybody is working, but a field grade officer is a knowledge worker. And then when you look at a PFC, that guy or gal is out there digging a hole in the ground right now.
yeah,
So that's why they get to eat hot chow first.
right,
But
right.
it was great though, because Nate's reading this book. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I said, "Look, I just came up with this thing, 5 paragraph, and at the time the website only had 4 buttons. That was it. So you could you could
Four paragraph.
download the template and pre-order the book and listen to the
Yeah,
tutorials. You could get an advisor thing, but that's where it started. And so Nate did all of those things, and then we wound up growing the company he was with at the time into what is now Curie. And you can see it on there as far as the testimonial. But when we first got together, he only had 2 million. I think it was 2 million in the pipeline, and then within the first 30 days, he had 22 million in the pipeline because he was running business development. And
and
so he
how long of a period was that?
within 30 days because he realized in his immediate action plan where his true needs were.
Yeah.
So he was walking out, and maybe you're experiencing this too. You walk out of a meeting with the board and the C suite and everybody, and you go, "Yeah, I can totally do all of that." And then you can walk out of the meeting, you're like, "How in the heck am I going to do
What
all
did
of
I
that?"
just
Right.
say?
And so he had kind of done that. And
Yeah.
so he was in that perfect moment to where he goes, "Oh man, if I only had an immediate action plan." And he was reading through. He read Mattis's his first book, one of his first books. I think he did it with Bing West. And then if you haven't read Chaos by Mattis, it's a great, great book. That's over here too. Yeah, some of the collection that I like going to. But that's the thing though, is he was reading these other things, is a student of it, is a leader himself, understands that it's a people driven process,
Yeah.
and so all of that clicked. I didn't realize what the different variables were at the time until years later on. But yeah, now they went from 7 states to now they're in 42 states and they're $500 million plus annually.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. And you and I were talking about how we're going to incorporate um, 5P into some of the stuff we're doing because every business in America needs this guidance, needs this you know this facelift or whatever you want to call it. This check
Yeah,
saying, "Hey, well, why are we doing things the way we do it?" We all, even us here at Seven Eagle Group, we need more clarity on where to go and what to do and how to structure it. And the processes you have in place seem to make so much sense. You know,
there you go.
um, uh, tell everyone how they can reach you, where to connect with you, and if somebody is interested in your services.
Sure, yeah. So you can go to 5paragraph.com. It's five like the digit, paragraph.com, and schedule a strategy session. It's right there on the homepage. So, and if you're so inclined, just kicking the tires, you can download the template. It's free of charge. It's right there on the bottom of the home screen. and download the template. Because I know that so many other places, like I downloaded my first ever business plan template over in the Small Business Administration. And I thank you, SBA, for doing that. So that way I could write my first ever business plan. And I hope people go and they
Yes.
download that business plan template free of charge. You can get the book. The book coincides with the audio tutorial, so you fill out the book as you go. Matter of fact, here's a couple of different copies of the different. So I literally do this myself. I'm the number one user of 5 paragraphs. So I wrote another book called Wear It Right. It's for Marines to put their uniforms together. So I put a 5 paragraph business plan
Put them
together.
up, hold them up higher. Let me see.
There you go.
Nice. I
Oh, I
got you.
put your business at the top typically. Denim and Patches was another one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
KMC, shout out.
I
And
love it.
so what I do is I'll literally fill it out as I go, right? And so that's what you do is
Yeah.
you fill out the text as you go. And so what the intention is that if you're just starting out, if you're in startup mode, if you're coming out the back gate, still got your Marine Corps haircut and your tan line, you can fill out your business plan while you're in uniform the way that I was when I was trying to figure out my patent and everything. You can
Mhm.
fill out your business plan right now. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
walks you through it and you can go through it.
yeah.
And then when you're ready, if you want to get the certification, you can get the certification. That's why I've got a 5P after my name. You'll see other practitioners who are certified, or it's got a comma 5P after their name. So that way you're more marketable out there in
Yeah, yeah,
the marketplace. And
yeah.
for business owners, if you're seeing these people who are coming through and they're certified, so now they're certified entrepreneurs. They're certified. What does that mean from the business leader perspective? You have the ability to delegate your authority, boom, and then
Yeah.
watch your vision commence into reality,
Right.
right? Because that's ultimately what we wanted, right? That was the sweet relief that we wanted. I just want to get it out of my head, down on paper, manifest destiny. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what your team wants. That's what your investors want. They're going to invest in you more than your product. They want to
No
see whether or
doubt.
not you thought things through and put an infrastructure into place. Imagine being able to brief your people when they come in, like a hiring manager. You
Yeah.
say, hey, here's our business plan. Here's your specific area of the plan that you're going to be working
Ah,
in. And
yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant.
what?
Nobody does it. Everyone knows they should do it, but nobody does it.
So we
Yeah.
we provide exactly that.
Yeah. That's great. And listen, and did I hear you right? You'll do a free consultation for somebody who calls, just want to chat and
Yeah.
go over what with them a little bit more in more detail what you can offer the business owner. Michael and I are going to do another talk too for the military veteran, the transitioning service member. A lot of the tactics you use work at helping somebody get a job too, right?
Amen. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that way, we want to make this an easy dance in between business owners and veterans that are coming out, right? So I'm even talking to the Department of Labor, and I would love to get in with SkillBridge and some of these other apprenticeship programs, so that way we can get those certifications free of charge to the veteran.
Yep.
Right. So that way, when they're coming out, they put the comma after their name. Boom, they're certified as a 5P practitioner. You, the business owner, are looking for that going, oh, yeah. All right, cool. Now I can set my team on fire. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's
So
great. You know, you're
you
getting
want
a
a whole
leader.
team
Yeah.
of leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Michael, you are amazing, man. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories and telling us more about 5P and the great work you're doing for the military community. You're a true champion of for everything in the community for your brothers and sisters, and I know you care so deeply about them, and that's why I just enjoyed getting to know you, and hopefully we can have a long relationship with you too.
Amen. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care,
I
buddy.
appreciate you, Jordy. I appreciate all your people over at Seven Eagle. God bless you and the family.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you.